All right, everybody, today we're coming at you with the best bets for the weekend at UFC 286, Edwards versus Usman 3 from the O2 Arena in London, England. And we're kicking it off with a UFC debutant, an undefeated professional mixed martial artist making his debut in the UFC in his hometown of London, England, and the former Cage Warriors middleweight champion at 7-0 in Christian Leroy Duncan. I love Christian Leroy Duncan in this spot. I love him from a betting perspective going into this weekend. And I also like him to get the TKO, the TKO. Going up against Duško Todorovic, who, yes, has some wins inside the UFC, who, yes, has competed in the premier mixed martial arts organization, and the butterflies of Christian Leroy Duncan in his first time in the UFC cage could play a factor. But the durability issues of Todorovic, he's been knocked out in the first round multiple times. He has terrible boxing and striking defense. And going up against a guy in Leroy Duncan, who, yeah, a lot of people might not know him going into this fight, but he is so elusive. His footwork, his head movement, his lateral movement, the constant changing of stances. He reminds me a little bit of a middleweight version of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's also got knockout ability and one-shot power. We've seen him catch opponents with crescent kicks, spinning wheel kicks, flying knees as he circles and rolls under shots to direct you into the direction of whatever shot he's throwing at you. I mean, spinning back fists into rear side crosses. He can mix up his combinations. He's got the power, but we've also seen him showcase good takedown defense. And even if he does get taken down, he's defensively responsible enough to stay patient and work his way back up to the feet. And then when we get into the next round, he comes at the opponent like a house of fire. But I like Leroy Duncan this weekend to defeat Duško Todorovic. I like him on the money line at a minus 225. He opened up at like a minus 190, minus 185, and he's been bet all the way up to a minus 225, so the money has definitely been coming in on the UFC newcomer, but I like it more for him to win by KO, TKO, or DQ at a minus 120. That originally opened up at plus money. I believe it opened at like a plus 115, plus 120. It's been bet all the way up to reverse it to the favorite, so the money's coming in on Christian Leroy Duncan, and the money's coming in on Leroy Duncan to win via knockout. Those are my best bets for this fight. Leroy Duncan on the money line, Leroy Duncan by KO, TKO, or DQ. Money line's minus 225. KO, TKO's around a minus 120. He's my most confident play for the weekend. Let's keep it going. All right, my next most confident play for the weekend is the return of Lerone the Miracle Murphy, going up against another undefeated UFC debutant in Gabriel Santos, who comes in with a record of 10-0. Lerone Murphy undefeated as a professional mixed martial artist as well, with a record of 11 victories and no defeats. His last time inside the octagon, we saw him get that knee knockout against Makwan Mr. Finland Amirkhani, who also competes on this card against Jack Tank Shore. He was able to time a takedown attempt of Amirkhani with a knee as he went for an Imanari or a single leg and knock him out cold after being taken down, controlled a little bit on the ground, and put in some danger in terms of the jiu-jitsu. And going up against Gabriel Santos, I think that the jiu-jitsu of Santos can give him a lot of trouble. He's comfortable on the feet, he's confident letting his strikes go, he has decent combinations, but his bread and butter is getting in on the hips, taking the opponent down, controlling them from the top position, and looking for a submission. But the one thing about Murphy is, even though he has shown some issues in defending takedowns, he has a good ability to work his way back up to the feet, dig for underhooks, use the whizzer, use the cage to wall walk his way back up to the feet and get back to the center. He's a much cleaner striker than his opponent in Gabriel Santos, in my opinion. Santos took this fight on a week's notice, and even though he is good technically, and I think he does have a decent future inside the UFC, I don't think he gets the job done here against the Miracle. I've always been a fan of Lerone Murphy. I don't think I've picked against him since I started this podcast. His striking, his technical ability, the use of fakes and feints, his patience on the feet, and his ability to find shots is very, very technical, and he's much more technical than his opponent, at least in my opinion, when it comes to mixing up the boxing and kickboxing game of mixed martial arts. I think that if Santos had more time to prepare for an opponent the caliber of Murphy, that maybe he could get the job done. But I just think Lerone Murphy's going to get it done, and I don't really like any winning methods or over-unders in this fight. My favorite bet is just Lerone Murphy on the money line at a minus 170. I think he opened at like a minus 230 when the line first got announced, and then he was bet all the way down to a minus 145. Now the money's coming back in on the UFC veteran in Lerone Murphy and he's all the way back up to a -170. But at -170, I think it's great value for the Miracle here. He's the much more well-rounded fighter. He has better experience, more experience inside the UFC octagon, and I just think he's going to be the overall cleaner, quicker, slicker, and sharper fighter come this Saturday. I do actually expect him to get the TKO or the knockout or TKO over Gabriel Santos, but due to the grappling ability, the jiu-jitsu ability, and the ground control ability of Santos, and his comfortability on the feet, I like the money line as the best bet for this fight, which I said is at a -170. But if you look at the winning methods, I do like Lerone Murphy to win by KO, TKO, or DQ, which is at a juicy +275. So -170 for Lerone Murphy on the money line, or -175 somewhere in between there, and then Lerone Murphy to win by KO, TKO, or DQ at a +275. Up next is going to be the former Ultimate Fighter winner going up against Veronica Macedo, aka now Veronica Hardy, as she married Dan the Outlaw Hardy, and Juliana Killer Miller. I love Juliana Miller in this spot, man, and judging off the fact that Veronica Macedo is not only coming off of a 3-year layoff, I believe, it could be a little bit longer, and also is 1-4 in her last 5 fights, I expect her to come in here against Juliana Miller, and although Macedo does have good jiu-jitsu and good submission ability, where she did get an armbar against Poliana Viana, I expect the overall pressure, the time off for Macedo, the ground and pound, the violence of the killer in Juliana Miller to really just push Veronica Macedo to the point of breaking, to push her to her breaking point. I think that she's gonna get into some scrambles with Macedo, but eventually Macedo/Hardy is going to get very, very tired, and Juliana Miller's not gonna let up. She can push the pace. You saw it in her fight against Brogan Walker. Took her to the ground, was able to out-scramble her, ground and pound her, look for submissions, just a relentless attack from Juliana Miller, and I expect her to do the same thing here against Veronica Macedo. She's going to take her down. She's going to get to the top position. She'll probably get caught in maybe 1 submission attempt or 2 submission attempts. She does have to mind her P's and Q's against a girl with the jiu-jitsu the caliber of Macedo, but she's going to eventually get out of those positions, work her way to the top position, get into mount, work from the half guard, and just use elbows, hammer fist, punches, and a barrage of ground and pound to beat her up until Veronica Macedo eventually gives up her back and Juliana Miller's able to lock in the submission. I wouldn't play Juliana Miller on the money line because she is a huge favorite at -435, but I love the under 2.5 rounds because I don't expect the fight to go the distance. If Macedo's able to pull off a Hail Mary submission, then I would believe that's the only way she can win. So the under 2.5 rounds is my most confident play for this fight at a -120. And then I also like Juliana Miller inside the distance to win by KO, TKO, or submission, which is sitting at a -110. Those are the best bets for this fight. Juliana Miller inside the distance, or the fight to go under 2.5 rounds. If you want to take the shot on Macedo, you can, but I just don't see any way she gets this win besides a Hail Mary submission. So I'm going with Juliana Miller to find the stoppage, find the submission, or ground and pounder into oblivion. So Miller inside the distance at a -110, or under 2.5 rounds at the -120. And the final best bet for UFC 286 is going to be Rafael Ataman Fiziev, but not Fiziev on the money line. You know, I don't mind Fiziev, whatever you want to call him. I don't mind him on the money line at a -225, but that's a little bit too juicy. But I am very confident in his Muay Thai, his striking ability. I mean, you've seen it showcased in his UFC career thus far against Brad Riddell, Rafael Dos Anjos in his last fight where he got the 5th round TKO. His takedown defense is second to none. His movement, his elusiveness, his speed, his combinations, the lead body kick, the calf kicks, I mean, the spinning wheel kicks to the head. This guy can do anything on the feet. He was the former striking coach of Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand, which is one of, if not the best striking gym in the entire world. Some of the best fighters in all of mixed martial arts train there, such as Piotr Yan, Mohamed Mokaev, Hamzat Chimaev has been out there. You know, GSP used to train out there back in the day. The best fighters in the world go to Tiger Muay Thai to sharpen up their striking. The PFL champion from last season in Brendan Loughnane. All of these fighters go out to Tiger Muay Thai, and this man was the coach. We've seen it showcased in the UFC. Fantastic speed, fantastic combinations, mixing up punches and kicks without any fat in his movement. Now going up against another high-level striker and a power puncher in Justin Gaethje, yeah, this fight could go to Gaethje 100%. He has the power, his left hook, his stance switch combination in the straight right hand to the left hook as he switches to southpaw, his right low kicks. I mean, he's got some of the best low kicks in the game, does Gaethje, but I just feel like he's outgunned and outmatched on the feet against Fiziev, who's one of, if not the best technical striker in all of mixed martial arts, and he has the takedown defense to keep the fight in his wheelhouse and to back it up. His cardio has been issues for him in the past, or it has brought some issues to light for Fiziev in terms of his overall cardio, but I don't expect Gaethje to shoot takedowns. If Gaethje's smart, he will shoot the takedowns and try to get Fiziev down to the ground, but it's not easy to take him down. If RDA couldn't take down Fiziev, then I don't think Gaethje can do it either. And although Gaethje does have knockout power, he does have some crisp technique with his punches, he's going to be out-techniqued by Fiziev 100%. Fiziev is much cleaner, he's much faster, and the cleaner, sharper shots are going to get there before the wind-up power punches of Gaethje. We've seen him overthrow his left and right hooks so hard that he knocks himself off balance. If he catches Fiziev on the chin, he can put him out. But when it comes to the best bets for this fight, I like the fight doesn't go to decision at a -175. I think that that's great value because if Gaethje or Fiziev, whoever wins, it's going to be a finish inside the distance. Now, I know we said that when it came to Michael Chandler and Justin Gaethje, and they were able to go the distance. I have no idea how, but I expect a finish one way or the other. Either Gaethje catches Fiziev with a wild left hook and knocks Fiziev out cold with his hands down and chin up, or Fiziev just styles on Gaethje, out-techniques him, and styles on him for an early knockout victory. So I like Rafael Fiziev by KO, TKO, or DQ at a +150. I think it started at like a +140, but it's been bet up to a +150. I love Fiziev to get it done by knockout at +150, and I also like fight doesn't go to decision at a -175. That way, if you are on the side of Gaethje thinking he can catch Fiziev, because we have seen Fiziev get knocked out in the UFC by Magomed Mustafayev with a spinning side kick to the head, then maybe you take that chance. But fight doesn't go to decision at -175, and Rafael Ataman Fiziev by KO, TKO, or DQ at a +150 are the best plays for the weekend on this fight in particular for the co-main event, and I expect Fiziev to knock Gaethje out cold.